Hey everyone, and welcome to Almost Cancelled. I'm Peter, that is Connor, and we are going to talk about iZombie Season 3, Episode 1. It's called Heaven Just Got a Little Bit Smoother. Full spoilers for the episode as always. iZombie's back. It has been a long ass time.
Yeah, I've missed it.
It has been a long ass time. It has been almost a full. It's been 11 months. Season 2 ended in May 2016. It is now April 2017 because they decided to make this a mid season show this year, which is fine. I'm sure a tight 13 episode season will do well for it, but it did mean that we waited an absurdly long time between seasons.
Yes. Yeah.
So, here we are. What was even weirder about that, though, for me, is that it does pick up right where the last episode left off, which is
Yeah,
really weird.
it starts 2.8 minutes
Yeah.
later.
It's really weird when you've waited that long and it's like just following directly on from the previous scenes. I'm like, alright, hold on, right, just let me reestablish where I was when we
Yeah.
ended last season. Give me a minute.
Yeah,
Uh,
it's like, oh, okay, the previously on. This is useful for me right now.
yeah. So, yeah, but I think this episode for me had less of a plot on its own, and it was more about here's what this season is going to be about. Here's the ideas that we're going to be exploring. Because I think the big sign for me that says this episode wasn't about something specific on its own was the fact that we never got a new brain. Liv and Major were just
Yeah.
on the brains from the previous episode, and that was fine. And but typically that's what happens in an episode of iZombie. She gets a brain, she has a different personality. That's fun, and
Hijinks ensue.
I am so looking forward to Clive being part of that process now, though. Like,
Absolutely.
see when they get a brain in, and it's pick your wacky character.
Did you see the next time on like the next week?
I did not.
What they
No, what was the
it's
brain?
so it's her and Major are sharing this family. It's this generation gap. One's the parent and one's the teenage daughter.
Oh,
But Major's the teenage daughter.
okay, right.
That's gonna be so fun.
Okay. I can live with this.
And that's kind of my biggest problem with this episode. It's a fine episode. It tells me exactly what this season is. It's the status quo setup, but it's not an episode of iZombie that you typically come to expect from this show.
Oh yeah, it had some fun bits, but it wasn't to the same level. But it kind of made sense. Like Liv shouldn't be
Yeah,
having fun given what happened. Like she shot her
it's
boyfriend in the head, and that's a big thing
yeah,
that she's going through.
it's kind of an episode that it had to do. It had to have this, but ultimately, it's like I just want a real episode.
That said, there were some things that now
Yeah.
I think Vivian, who's the sort of leader of this company, I think she might have mentioned the name of the company in the finale, but I don't know if I'd processed it or if I just forgot it.
Mm.
But there was a moment in this episode when I realised what the name of the company was, and I started laughing out loud. The name of the company is Fillmore Graves.
Yeah, it's great, isn't it?
Fillmore Graves. Oh, that was cracking me up. So yeah, so basically the whole team are processing what's happened, and Clive's in and everything now, and Liv's like, right, we have to figure out what this woman meant by, oh, Seattle will be the zombie capital of the world. It'll be the safe haven for zombies, and Clive is notably concerned about this. And obviously, I think what they're setting up here is they're going to set up zombies as a minority who aren't necessarily evil and perhaps should be protected.
Yes, but then they're not going to be seen that way.
Of course not, of course. And as even Clive himself is kind of guilty of jumping to like the obvious questions when he's like, "And where are you getting all your brains from?" And Vivian's like, "See, naturally suspicious." I'm like, and the thing is though, it is kind of a logical thing to be suspicious of. I mean, where you're getting your brains from is a pretty
It
good
is,
question.
and I think they're like Vivian is aware of that as well. This is
Yeah,
why she's so preparing for it because she
yeah.
knows that they're going to ask these questions because that's what people do.
Yeah, and of course he's going to be suspicious when you say, well, D-Day is coming. Look, there's only one time in history we call D-Day, and it wasn't a very pleasant day. So you
Yeah,
have to specify that you mean Discovery Day.
I like that they all raise their eyebrows when she says that. Like they're like, really,
So
D-Day?
why
You're
wouldn't
going to
you
go with that?
why wouldn't you call it Z-Day?
I don't know because it feels cliche and overdone.
I guess, but come on, it sounds better as well. I mean, D-Day makes you
Arguably,
think
sure.
of one of the most horrific days in like modern history. Z-Day sounds, ooh, zombie apocalypse.
Oh, I'm sure the people of Seattle see it that way.
Admittedly, maybe that's not the. Okay, admittedly,
Not
maybe
the right tone of
yeah,
voice for
it's
that.
not the message they want to portray, but I don't know if D-Day is also the thing they want to be bringing up.
Yeah, yeah, it's not great, is it?
Oh dear. But now, I like the hook that sort of makes Clive like sort of important to the cause. is kind of this kid that he knows, who he finds out is a zombie. That there's more zombies than he's aware of. They treat it. It's almost the show's almost going full X-Men here, where it's becoming a very an analogy for like present day things.
Yeah.
And they're doing that with the zombies, and that's fine. That's cool. I did think it was a little bit much that we just get introduced to this kid in this episode before the gut-wrenching ending where the family's all been killed by like anti-zombie people.
It's one of those moments where you couldn't have done it at the end of last season because you'd have probably forgotten, frankly.
Yeah. Well, I think what would have been smarter is if maybe we'd just seen the kid a couple of times, just sprinkled throughout, and we didn't know at the time he was a zombie, and we discovered it in this episode, and then we.
It's the sort of thing where if it was me, I'd have had him at the start of this episode, and that's fine. Introduce him there, but then leave it till maybe episode 3 to do the bit at the end.
Yeah, but then we don't know what they're going to want to do with Clive in the next couple of episodes. Maybe they needed him to be at this stage and his goals, because he's.
Yeah.
I like how skeptical he is, and how obviously he's kind of shook by the whole thing because zombies exist. Crap, Liv's a zombie. Oh dear. And because one of the funniest moments as well is when he shows up to with Liv and Major at the company, and they're like, "Oh, you're late." It's like, "What? It's 9 o'clock." And it's like, "Yeah, but if you're on time, you're late. If you're early, you're on time." And he's like, "You know, eat some more brains. Are you on these army brains for how long?" He's like, so he's already like integrating into that. But I can get where's Ravi takes glee in the different brains. I can see Clive just getting annoyed. I kind of want him to like gradually they'll remember things that Liv's done in the past and go, "Wait, that's why you did that X time. That's why you knew all those basketball facts that 1 week," and so on. I can see some good fun coming from that. But that said, though, as much as I thought that felt a little bit contrived that we got the introduction to the kid in the same episode, I did think the ending where this family were gunned down.
Wasn't it?
It was impactful. Clive's reaction, because it was the way they noticed the name in the door and they see it's that kid.
Yeah, you see it as they do, and you put it together at the same time. You're like, oh shit.
It's a hate crime, and then Clive walks out and he's just he's distraught. And then we see because. Honestly, getting into this season, even though we didn't get a whole lot of her, I was kind of expecting Vivian to be more of an antagonist. And I was still getting the vibes they might be setting her up that way throughout the episode, where she's presenting it as if it's a whole good thing, but there might be more secret intent. And there still could be. But it doesn't
actively seem that way, at least.
But the scene at the end when she's telling the classroom that their friend's been killed in a hate crime is actually pretty...
Yeah, she feels more like to continue the X-Men analogy, Xavier.
Yeah, it definitely is going for those sort of vibes. And I kind of want to applaud the show, because I feel like season 2 was an improvement in season 1. And season 2 was knockout after knockout, really fun episodes, and love the characters, all that stuff's great. But I feel like season 3 already is giving me something where here's the season plot, and it's not just going to be a continuation of this. Because season 2 was just kind of an evolution of what season 1 was. Where season 3, it feels like we're getting into this season with a goal. We have a story we want to tell that's bigger, it's broader. And
like I say, it's bold. This first episode, all it is this is the status quo, and this is the story you can expect to play out over the next 13 episodes. And it's like, it's different. It's very different to what we've had before. It completely takes out the bounds of just, crime, whatever the crime was, and then investigating that. I'm sure they'll be doing that along the way, of course. But there is a clear goal where it's integration and discovery.
Yeah, and they even bring up that Clive won't be allowed to do this case because he has a connection to Wally, because it's someone he's connected to. So therefore, and that's a normal thing. Like typically, if they're related to the crime, they're not allowed to be involved in the investigation. So I like that they bring that up. They're not going to shoehorn that in, because sometimes I feel like a TV show was like, "No, Captain, just let me do it. I need to catch the guy." And
Whereas iZombies always kind of had, we've got rules.
Yeah,
it always feels very kind of realistic in that sense, at least.
Yeah, it's like when Liv comes in and tells them about the radio show, the guy's going to try and expose it, because I feel like a lot of this season's going to be them trying to stop people from exposing the zombie culture to the world, and they race to the radio station. But when she comes into the morgue, and he's like, "Why didn't you just go straight there? I could have met you there." It's like, because I don't have a badge or a siren.
Yeah,
and then it cuts to them and screaming in the car.
I did think it was really weird. Them showing up to stop him talking kind of seems like it's lending credence to him, doesn't it? Where his whole thing was the government are trying to stop us talking, and then the cops show up to stop him talking.
Oh, sure.
It kind of adds legitimacy to what he's saying.
It does, but had they caught him before he started his show...
But I don't know. The thing for me was he was on a well-known conspiracy thing anyway. It's like, how seriously would he have been taken?
I think you can maybe poke at that, but I think if you're poking at that, I don't think it's a fault of the writing. I think that's a fault of the characters and jumping to the conclusion where maybe they realise afterwards, oh crap, we've made this worse, and they realise they've made it worse because when they get there, he says over there, oh, and I want it to be known that this detective's trying to stop me from speaking, kind of thing. But they still think it's not such a big deal afterwards because Clive's like, look, he's a crackpot. He says all sorts of things on a regular basis.
Exactly. That's why I was like, well, maybe just let it go to begin with.
Yeah, the actor who was playing the radio guy, by the way, was on Battlestar Galactica, so it was nice to see his face.
All right.
As a fan of that show. So in terms of other new stuff to get introduced, we have Ravi's ex-boss showed up because she wants to. She's working on the body from the crime scene. Obviously, Fillmore Graves, blew up the scene from the last episode to cover the evidence, the zombie sort of involvement and all that stuff. So we've got her. Ravi's not very fond of her because, well, she fired him. And there's some banter on there. She seems like, and her name's Cups, which I thought was amusing.
Yeah, it's memorable, isn't it?
It is memorable. And meanwhile, we have at Fillmore Graves, we have the fact that they have an army of zombies who are all people who have essentially volunteered, or in one case, a lot of them she turned because they all got gassed.
Infected.
Yeah, when they were on a mission as a team. They were still working for her already. But then when they were all dying, she's like, well, I can save you all. And
yeah, but they spread it to the wider company, so she saved a load of them.
Yeah, she saved a lot of people. So again, they're bringing up that, it's not just for evil reasons. She didn't go killing. And obviously she mentions her husband was killed by his brain supplier because he stopped wanting to pay said brain supplier, and then he went missing. Yeah. What possible brain supplier could that be, I wonder?
I know. Who could possibly it be?
Speaking of, I think Blaine's the one weird part of the episode for me that I'm not sure where it's going.
I'm not sure where it's going either, but I think I enjoyed everything with him in it.
Do you know what I think it is? I think it's because they're doing this whole Peyton thing where Ravi's kind of jealous, and there's that whole thing where Blaine says to Peyton, "Oh, I'll be there if you need me." Like, it seems like I was a bad guy, and I'm still not sure if he's faking or not. And I like that Baldy, what's his name here? Everhart, thank you.
I did not know that.
It's been 11 months, all right? We're a break, guys. I'll be honest, in my head, he's always been Baldy, right?
Baldy and Eye Patch.
Baldy and Eye Patch, yeah, that's the two. Eye Patch also sometimes called Skinner because he looked like Skinner. But, so he even thinks he's faking. He thinks he's faking, and he actually gets out his father, Teabag from Prison Break, returning, presumably in a recurring role, and he defrosts him because Blaine put him in a freezer. Because obviously he's a zombie, he'll get back up. And he's like, we'll start our own brain business, and they seem to be in cahoots, which is nice. But the whole stuff with Peyton, though, I think for me the reason why that maybe was the one thing that fell a little bit flat for me was because it felt like a little bit of forced sort of love drama kind of stuff. Where
just for the sake of it.
Just for the sake of it. It was when like he was standing there, he was asking, were we a couple? And I think part of it's because I enjoy Evil Blaine so much, and he's not being Evil Blaine. Now, part of me thinks he might be faking, and it's leading to some sort of wonderful reveal of,
That's the great thing, is I'm genuinely not sure if he is or not.
Yeah.
Just don't know. I can't call it either way.
Yeah. So, I don't know, that stuff was, because it feels like, okay, regardless of him having amnesia, he was still a murderer, and he still did all these awful things, so I don't really understand why Peyton...
It's just something where, because we saw it kind of develop last season, and she didn't really know all about who he was entirely.
And she was suitably horrified when she found out.
She was, but she'd kind of already established the feelings by that point.
I don't know. I have a hard time. But even if you argue, okay, he's got no memories, he's technically a new person.
Yeah.
I have a hard time buying that you would even feel comfortable doing it, though.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
I don't know.
I think I was more okay with it last season when I saw the gradual build, but now that I'm kind of back in a fresh state of mind, it's like this kind of feels weird. Yeah.
A couple of good Ravi moments when he's talking to Clive and he comes in. He's like, "Okay, right, I've got 16 cures. But I'm trying to think of the memory problem. So I'm looking at it from a different angle." And he goes, it takes him out of the back room, and he's got a brain in a jar, with needles in it. And he's like, right, I've almost cured the memory loss. And he's about to like inject it with something, and Clive's like, no. He's like, hey man, this is my jam. As he's stabbing her brain. I've missed Ravi. I've missed them all. I've missed Liv.
My favourite Ravi moment is when Clive brings Liv in to the office and she's all out of it.
I know what you're going to say. Yeah.
And she goes on the couch and she's like
she's
lying
drunk.
there. She looks like
she's pissed drunk because the brain wore off. She was keeping it cool because the army brain was stopping her from like harnessing her emotions, and now she's a wreck because she's remembered killing her boyfriend and
she's just lying there looking like shit. And Ravi just edges the bin over, so if she throws up, it's like, nope, don't want it all on my floor.
Even before he takes it, he's like, oh, not my office.
Yeah.
So, it was a really fun episode, lots of good character beats. It was mostly catching us up. I think the other plot that we've not really touched on is the fact that Major's kinda... Because even though he's been cleared of the crime, everyone in the public still sees him as the killer.
Yes.
And they're spray painting on the house. He goes to Starbucks and they write the killer on the cup, and it's like he's just been. And he says he got a job, and Liv sees him at the end when she's at the Fillmore Graves, and he's running with all the other soldiers. So he's taking a job there because it's the only place that'll take him. Partly because they're one of the only sets of people who know that he's not the killer. Everyone else seems to think he is.
I'd like them to. Well, that's the thing. Everyone knows he's not the killer. He got his name cleared officially and publicly.
Yeah.
But I'd like them to see them delve into that whole, he's been falsely accused at this point, but it still affects him considerably. And, it touched on it a little bit here, but...
Falsely accused isn't quite the accurate term in this case, I don't think. Because technically he was the cause of the disappearances.
Okay, yes, but as far as the public is concerned, he was falsely accused.
It's just because he was technically still hiding in bushes, jumping out and abducting people.
Yes.
So...
Yeah, there's no arguing with that. He did do those things.
I love that they've remembered the woman that he wanted to kill herself, and he convinced her not to, and to freeze her, and that he would wake her up and make her okay, but now he can't find her. I like the guilt that's playing from that. That should be interesting stuff. So no, that's good. But this was a solid first episode back. Again, it was very much setting up the plot, so we're not going to have your typical fun iZombie episode where she eats a brain and she has a wacky character.
And part of me is a little bit disappointed in that, because it's like, that's what I love most about this show, and not getting that straight away and making me wait for it.
I think it was needed, though. I
agree.
I think they have broader aspirations for what this season is going to be compared to the last two, and I think they needed to put the pieces on the board and say, this is what this is what we're doing.
I definitely agree with that. They had to do it, but at the same time, it's like, I just want to see her eat a brain.
That's right, there was no little quick cooking montage.
Exactly, and I feel really let down by that. I know I shouldn't be, because it was a good episode and it did what it had to do, but I still wanted to see it.
That's coming. We got 12 more.
I know.
We'll get them. That's fine. But there you go. That's first iZombie back. Great fun. Hopefully we should have the review up quicker next week. It was just we had Tuesday's hectic this week because Shield was back, Legends had its finale. iZombie's the one that kind of got pushed ahead a little bit. But so here we go. Thank you very much for watching. Let us know what you thought of the episode in the comments below. Like and subscribe and all that stuff helps us out a lot. Get us on Twitter at mailed_fuzz for channel updates. Individual Twitters are on the screen. And keep eating brains. Have you got any vanilla?